6:30. We will call this public hearing of the Buildings and Standards Commission to order. We'll call to order in 1 minute. Okay. We're now calling this public hearing to order of the Buildings and Standards Commission. Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Irving Buildings and Standards Commission for May 28th, 2025. We work from a prepared agenda. Due to the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, all comments to and deliberations by the Commission must be strictly limited to matters posted on today's agenda. Anyone wishing to address the Commission should ask the moderator for permission to speak on their specified item number. All persons to speak must be sworn in. If you plan to present evidence in any case today, that evidence must remain with City staff and become part of the case master file. If you need a copy for your records, City staff will be happy to assist you with that need. We limit the time for staff and ownership to 10 minutes to present their case. However, for citizen comments, you are limited to 3 minutes. You may request more time at the end of 3 minutes. A decision will be made whether or not to grant you additional time. A Spanish translator is available if needed. Ms. Silva, Senior Administrative Assistant for the Code Enforcement Department. If anyone in the audience plans to speak, would you please stand as you are able and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to present is true and correct? Okay. Ms. Silva, do we have proper notification on all cases that are to be heard this afternoon?
Yes, the agenda for this meeting was posted in accordance with law at least 72 hours prior to this meeting as certified by the City Secretary's office. A notice of this hearing, as required by law, has been advertised in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days prior to this hearing. A copy of the notice is included in the packets provided to the Commission. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Linda Silva, soy secretaria del Departamento de Código de la Ciudad de Irving. Soy la traductora por esta tarde y estaré disponible por si alguien necesita ayuda. Gracias.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the items on our agenda. The first two items on our agenda are the approval of the minutes of the work session and public hearing from our April 23rd meeting. With that, do I hear any motions in the Commission to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, Commissioner Simon. There a second?
Motion to second.
And a second from Commissioner Baker. Motion is passed unanimously. We can now move on to our individual items for consideration.
Dale Demers, Code Enforcement Manager, here to present Agenda Item 3, continued case BSCP 2304-0001, 415 West Pioneer Drive. This is a commercially zoned property that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. The Commission has been presented this case 7 different occasions in which they have adopted findings and set deadlines twice, levied civil penalties twice, and continued the case to the next hearing on 3 separate occasions. At the April 23rd hearing, the commission granted the owner some additional time to get the repairs to the property underway. At that meeting, the owner stated that he had a current permit and that work would begin soon. That permit expired on April 30th, 2025. There have been 3 permits issued to this property over the last 4 years, 2 roof permits, which have never been called in for inspection, and the exterior work permit that just expired on April 30th, 2025, with no inspections requested. 2 weeks later, on Thursday, May 15th, 2025, staff observed that work on the structure had begun without an active permit. Staff notified the inspections department of the work being done without permit and asked that a building inspector investigate the work at the property. On Monday, May 19th, 2025, the building and electrical inspector visited the property and issued a stop work order and had the electrical meter removed due to safety concerns. As you can see by the photo on the left, a large amount of work had already been done. Later that day, the owner submitted an application for permit that only included the exterior repairs. On May 22nd, the plan reviewer provided a plan review letter requesting the answers to the scope of work and the use of the property once the work is completed. It is staff's understanding that the use will determine if additional requirements will be requested in order to approve the permit. On May 20th, 2025, staff observed that work continued on the property without a permit and in direct violation of the stop work order that was issued the day before. That work includes new siding and new windows. The photo on the right shows that new framing was installed to resize the windows. The contractor is also installing a fence for which he has not applied for a permit. In some areas, there was some weathering or decay of the structural studs as seen in the photo on the left. On May 20th, it was observed that that area and others have been covered with new siding without verification of repair by the inspections department. This area was left open on May 20th, assuming that the repairs to the structural components would be done prior to the installation of new siding. However, on May 27th, this area has been covered in new siding without any verification of repairs to the structural components. The new permit application does not mention any repairs being made to the foundation or any other structural members. This area of the foundation has severe deterioration. Other areas of the structure has foundation supports that are either leaning or have cracked. These are typical parts of a pier and beam foundation that need to be assessed by a structural engineer to verify the proper support and provide a recommended repair. To this date, the owner has not provided any definitive time frame for a scope of work for the interior repairs of the building, which should include at this point electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, since the electrical meter has now been removed and will take a permit for it to be replaced by Encore. This table shows a list of the violations of the property. If the permits were issued, or this shows violations of property, if permits were issued, when work was started, when work was completed, and if that work was inspected. With the exception of the roof, all work done on this property has been done without an approved permit. However, according to the inspection records, no work, including the roof, has been inspected by a member of the inspections department to verify compliance with adopted codes. Staff respectfully reminds the Commission of the adopted findings and makes the following orders. Staff respectfully requests that the owner be ordered to pay civil penalties in the amount of $10 per each of the 9 violations per day from January 22nd, 2025 through May 28th, 2025, a total of 126 days for a total amount of $11,340 for failure to comply with the Commission's September 26, 2024 order. This concludes staff's presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item?
Hello, my name is Art Burtonzetti. I currently reside at 3422 Cheyenne Street here in Irving, and I am the owner of the property at 415 West Pioneer. Just the day prior to starting the work, I thought that the permit might have expired. So I went down and I found out that it had expired. And I asked that it be reinstated. Apparently it wasn't reinstated in time. I don't know what else to say. The interior is in need of repair. The electrical service will be totally done or renewed, but I need to get this done first. I think we have a window and a door that needs to be put in. Everything else has been taken care of. They replaced all the structural support beams that were rotted or in decay before putting all the siding on. New insulation was put in. Everything that I did in this was very expensive. I didn't just schlock it. I wanted to take the test of time. Thousands of Irving residents went to school in this place. This was the old Lively daycare center. And many of them appreciate it being renovated. I do have, there is a small amount of termite damage that maybe 2.5 feet in one of the supporting beams on the side, but I don't know of anything else we're bringing in a foundation company that will totally look at it and do whatever is necessary with an engineer to repair anything that, or upgrade anything that needs to be done. I don't know what else to do. As I got the materials, or as the materials became available, I wanted to go to work, and I'm sorry that the permit expired. I had no idea that it had expired. And I did make application to renew it, but they chose not to renew it. And the chief building inspector was out there, and I told him that, you know, they had never inspected the roof, and that if he wanted to, he was more than welcome to inspect the roof. And the thing, he only seemed to want to shut down the work, and I didn't understand that. I thought it would be. The workers did not use the electricity from the house. They were not used. They had their own private source, and it was the electrical was just hanging there. I don't know. I don't understand why he just couldn't disconnect it from the pole. Why he had to take it all out. That seemed to be overkill to me. But like I say, I'm not really caring about that. The city of Irving has a reputation of being overly strict, I hear. And in my case, it seemed right on core. I'm just curious. We have a lawyer here.
We have several
Janet?
lawyers here.
Janet, forgive me. Janet Spunardi, do you have any, does the city of Irving have any, used to have a board of appeals for, let's see, a board of adjustment for city codes, that things happen, the roads get widened, and the property is no longer in conformance with the code, but there used to be a board of adjustment where you could go and get it adjusted. And there used to be a Board of Appeals for these city inspections that they didn't like. I'm just curious, is that still in place?
Go ahead, I'm curious myself.
Or is
The
that
city
been-
has a construction board of appeals, and we also have a zoning board of adjustment. So we have a
We
construction.
still have that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but there is no longer an appeal to the council if nothing is done according to the complainant's desire. In other words, if they're turned down at these boards, that's it.
Are you talking about at this board?
No, I mean,
At this board, as I actually just presented in a presentation you may not have seen, the appeal for any decision of this board goes to district court in Dallas County.
yeah, that's right. I mean, that has always been a possibility, but before that happened years ago, and because I did it, there used to be an appeal to the council. Because when I bought this property years ago, in 1991, after having been on the real estate market for 2 years, nobody wanted to buy it. Everybody wants to buy it now, but nobody wanted to buy it then. And I went to the,
Okay, Mr. Burns, I'm going to stop you there.
I'm sorry?
We're getting a little off track. I think there's really not that much information I think we really need. So you've started work on the property. Can you tell us what you've fixed and what you still have left to fix?
I fixed all the structural, with the exception of the foundation. We haven't got to that yet. But everything that is covered by siding has been fixed. All of the rotted problems, all of the structure that was in question has been fixed. And it's as if it was new. We didn't add any walls, we didn't take down any walls, but we fixed everything.
Can we bring up that slide of your table of, Mr. Demers, can you bring up the slide, because we had a nice little presentation of all the, yeah, there we go. So we've got, is it like 10? 9, we have 9. Okay, so you have walls, vertical structures, was listed in your buckle.
Well, I hardly objected to most of these things.
Well, we've already entered into the record that these things definitely exist, so they will need to be addressed. It does seem like you started work on 5 of the 9. So do you have an idea of when you'll have the items you have started on completed, and do you have an idea of the other 4 you haven't started on?
Well, if we could get permits, we could start on any one of those items right away. That's not a problem. The problem is getting permits.
I mean, you said that in our April meeting that you'd have this fixed by our May meeting.
Repeat that, I'm getting a little old. Repeat that.
You said in our meeting last month that by this meeting, right today, this property would be complete, fixed and
No,
everything.
well, it would be complete as it is. I mean, the windows, the siding, the doors, that's almost complete. I haven't got to the foundation as such yet, but we're working on it, and that's not a problem at all. Again, it's a problem of getting permits.
What work have you done on the interior of the structure?
Well, right now, I have a big dumpster outside. I'm trying to clean it out so that we can work on the foundation. And I've got the water to half the house turned on. There's still leakages in the other half that are above ground from the 21 storm, and they will eventually be repaired. But I have to clean it out, and I'm working on that right now.
Okay, do you have an idea when you'll be complete with this?
We could be complete in a month, probably. I don't understand your concern.
That's the point of the submission is their
Am I making you
concern.
look bad?
A little bit, a little bit. I am happy to see that some work is happening. You have no idea how much it joys me to see that there's work moving on this property.
Well, I'm
that you've got.
shelling out $130,000 for this, sir. I hope that
That's-
doesn't make you look bad.
This is part of being a homeowner, is if the house gets broken, you got to fix it.
Well, I was a homeowner, and I was a struggling homeowner for a lot of years. I'm no longer struggling.
We both share the same idea. We want this thing fixed up, all right?
Yeah, I
And-
want it fixed up. Yeah, I want it like new, and we're moving in that direction. Well,
And
I'd
I
like
want to know
a-
how quickly we're
I'd like
moving
a
that
permit on the
direction.
drive. I'd like a permit on the fence. The tornado destroyed the fences of two of my neighbors. And
I don't
they
think a
would- they
fence
would
is part of
really-
this.
They would really welcome me having a fence there.
We don't have any say in your fence. The fence isn't one of the violations listed,
I
so.
understand that, but I'm telling you, you're asking me why the fence hasn't been, don't have a permit
No,
for
I'm
it.
not asking about the fence. It's not on our concern, your fence. You can build a nice fence, you have no fence, it's not part of this proceeding at all. We care about the foundation, we care about the walls,
Well,
we care about, floor, these things in the ceiling falling down on people, that's what we care about.
The foundation is, in my opinion, not a grave concern. It's not a falling down building.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I've seen pictures.
Would you repeat that?
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one, because I've seen the pictures of, you've got tree stumps.
That's not a tree stump. That was a perfectly, in the code, perfectly by the code, construction practice in that time, in 1957, when it was built. And cedar does not rot. Those tree stumps are not rotting. There's a small, maybe this far, where termites, and part of that, ate out part of one of the beams. And that will be addressed. But again, that's coming. We have a contractor that specializes in foundations, but we don't have a permit right now. He has an engineer, and all that's going to be looked at.
All right, and why don't you have a permit? This case has been going on for how many years now? 20.
Well, we're just taking it. I've only recently got the financing to complete this job, and I have been trying to. I had a contract of sale with Racetrack. The big
Yeah,
gasoline.
you've told us before. We're glad that you've now gotten the
And
financing.
that's been going on for almost 2.5 years.
Right, but you said at our last meeting you'd have this fixed by this meeting, and it looks like you started working on this
Well,
9 days ago.
The permits that I had taken out are almost completed. I mean, I've got a door, I've got a window, and some trim. I wasn't lying to you. Most of the problems on the interior are minor. It's not a health hazard. And
Okay, you would need to bring us pictures to demonstrate this. You need,
well, I have to clean it up. We had a homeless person there that these guys would not help me throw out.
they don't help you throw out homeless people, that's not their job.
Well, it could have been. I mean, it was zone commercial. I said he shouldn't be,
It's
he
not.
shouldn't be living there.
The code enforcement department does not deal with that. That would be eviction courts.
Well, I'm just telling you this so that you don't look bad.
I'm trying to impress upon you, we want this fixed in a fairly expedient manner, and that's not what we're
Being
getting.
done in an expedient manner. I mean, this was done in 5 days.
5 days? No, it's been done in 2 years.
This was done in 5 days.
We entered in our findings on October 24th, 2023 to repair or demolish.
I had the financing to do the roof. That made it a
That's-
safe, at least a safe building that wasn't going to collapse. And I had the possibility of financing with a contract for sale, and it took 2.5 years, sir. Now, if that's a problem to you, I'm sorry.
It's a problem for the residents of the city of Irving who don't want to live next to a dilapidated apartment or a dilapidated house for 2 years, 1.5 years, while their owner secures financing. Securing financing isn't a valid reason to delay things for years
Well,
and
right
years.
now, it's a solid structure, and according to my knowledge of the law, you cannot demolish a solid.
Your knowledge of the law is incorrect. We absolutely can.
Well,
The house has been declared substandard by our commission. Findings have been entered in listing each of the violations.
if
And
I
we've
take it
issued a
to court,
repair.
you're going to have to prove that.
We did prove it. It has been proven, it's been entered into
In
findings.
my opinion, you haven't really proved anything. You have his word and my word.
No, actually, we have the support of the commissioner's vote. This is a quasi-judicial body, and we found that the house was dilapidated, and that it had to be repaired or demolished in a time frame which has long since lapsed.
I hope you're not going to bump this up to the level of the courts. Because I researched this many years ago. You can take it to state court, and you can also take it to federal court under
Nope.
Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Which,
Good luck with that.
I'm sorry, but there's not only civil penalties, but there are criminal penalties.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now I think we're going nowhere with this at this point. Do you have a timeline on when work will be completed?
It depends on when we get the permits.
If permits were issued today, how long would it take to have this house completed?
Probably about 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Are there any other questions for this witness at the time?
Ms. oh,
Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. I have one question for Mr. Demarest and one question for you, Mr. Burton-Zetti. Mr. Demarest,
Yes, sir.
what are the currently active permits on this home?
There are none.
No current active permits. There was one application for a permit dated May 19th. That's just an application. That permit has not been granted, correct?
It has not, to my knowledge, as of this morning, it had not been granted.
Thank you, Mr. Demarest. Question for you, Mr. Burton-Zetti. When a stop work order was issued on the work being done on the home, why did work resume without the stop work order being lifted?
The stop work order said by the 20th, and by the 20th, most of the work had been completed. And I can't give you a reason. There was no danger. They had taken totally the electrical out.
Are you aware that a stop work order is a legal order to stop work? That when a stop work order is issued, work must stop and cannot resume until that order has been lifted?
I assumed, I went to the permit people and they didn't give me a real definite explanation.
That's the only questions I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Dodd, if I could ask Mr. Demarest another question. Inspector Demarest, you used to work in the Building Inspections Department in Irving, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
to your knowledge, in order for Mr. Bertonzetti to have this permit issued, will he have to take down the siding and uncover the work that was covered up in order for the building inspections department to issue and final out a permit on this property?
That'll be at the discretion of the building official of the city of Irving.
Would that be something that would be typically asked of the inspections department?
Typically, in most jurisdictions, yes.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, with that, we will close this matter to the floor and begin our deliberations. All right, any comments from the commission at this time?
Make a motion, we follow staff recommendation on this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the staff's recommended findings in full. Motion carries unanimously. If we can have item 4, please.
Dale Demarest, Code Enforcement Manager, here to present Agenda Item 4, continued case BSCP 2011-0004, 2203 West Irving Boulevard. On January 22nd, 2025, the Commission ordered the case to be continued to the May 28th, 2025 hearing to determine compliance with the order to repair or demolish. On April 8th, 2025, the contractor informed staff the owners have decided to abandon the construction of a bakery and turn the building into a white box for future use by another tenant. Staff informed the contractor that plan revisions would need to be submitted to the inspections department in order to update the permit for the intended repairs and use. On May 13th, 2025, the contractor began installing additional columns and beams. Staff once again reminded the contractor about submitting the plans for revision, noting that the current permit expires June 21st, 2025. The only work that has been observed from the public right-of-way since the January hearing is the installation of 4 columns and approximately 16 roof rafters, as seen in the picture on the right. This entry area has been in the state since before January hearing. The inspector at the time of inspection noted, quote, "Approach must be inspected by capital improvement. Please reach out to capital improvement. It is not known if the contractor ever made contact with capital improvement. As of today, this has remained open." On May 14th, staff requested a revised scope and schedule from the contractor to be sent in time for this hearing. That scope and schedule was not received. A revised set of plans was submitted at 7:35 a.m. this morning. I received a text message from the contractor stating the plans were approved. That plan is before you on the screen. This case has been brought before this hearing on 12 separate occasions. Of those 12 occasions, Building Standards has adopted the findings. 9 times they've granted an extension to the next hearing, and twice have Commission has levied civil penalties against this property. With that in mind, staff respectfully reminds the Commission of the above findings and make the following orders. Staff respectfully requests that the owner be ordered to pay civil penalties in the amount of $480 per day from January 22nd, 2025 through May 28th, 2025 for a total of 126 days and a total amount of $60,480 for failure to comply with the Commission's April 25, 2023 order. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Demarest. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct?
I do.
If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Kenneth Lott, 1157 Esters Road, Irving.
I believe since you are the contractor representing the owner, you'd get 10 minutes. Yeah.
So part of Mr. Demarest's presentation for the right-of-way, that is not a CIP inspection, that is a TxDOT inspection. That does not fall under capital improvements. It is with TxDOT. They have looked at it once. They have come back since they started the repairs. or the repair on the bridge right down West Irving Boulevard, and as soon as it is dry and recompacted, they will reassess and watch pour. That was as of 2 weeks ago. So for the capital improvements right away, that's not a city affair. That's TxDOT. Number two, for the plans haven't been issued for white box. That was declared, but from January through February, work to install vertical columns were done. On February 22nd, an issue was notified. This issue was notified to the structural deviants in the original set of the drawings that has already been under permit. We had new structural drawings, new structural assessment, also by Veritas Bureau, third-party inspectors to verify exactly what we were seeing and what is being identified as wrong. So if it's of the opinion of the commission to build a building that is safe to public standard, I don't see how it's anything other than safe, because the city does not inspect that. That is a third-party state outside inspection to bolts, vertical height, pitch and drainage, everything that affects that building. So whenever they come out and they run their laser and they see there is no vertical connection that can tie from the new building, which is the addition, to the old building without remodification to the old building, which is where the demo for the parapet, all the demo to the existing 27 joist on the old building, that occurred. That occurred starting once we had the revised drawings for that. Then the owner made the decision for changing this to a white box. That went to the architectural group to meet and coincide with the current structural changes to adapt and get those over. Those were submitted. They were also approved this morning by Jason. So at this point, the levy of $60,000, progress is being held to identify the weak points and the integrity of the structure to put this on a market or to occupy. It doesn't matter if it's to the owner or to any individual in the public. If I release this property today, it's not safe, period. If I did it based off the original plans from the original structural engineer, it would have never got completed, period. That's why Red Light Engineering came in. They redid all the structural platform. They required 4 additional columns, 16 new horizontal trace joists to go from the new addition to the old addition. That is how the transition of the entire demo process to the erection of the new process started. As of this morning, the 2 lateral skirts for the beams on the 4 new erected columns, that took place along with 7 other joists. Tomorrow, it still continues to move forward. Then, by next Monday, we tie into the vertical of the old building on top. So progress being met, we're going back to a conversation we had, what was that, November, Mr. Damarest? The November meeting about professional services. Just because one can't be seen doing and performing does not make it an idle property. That means there is an investment and occurrence being made by multiple professional services that are licensed to make this a safely occupied building that is, one, having been approved by the city of Irving. So this construction is not a halt. This construction is doing it by the book, by the law, to the benefit of the public. So on behalf of Triton and the Madranos, that one, I don't see how the levies of $60,000 in penalties, because we cannot see what's happening. Most of us can't see what any of y'all are doing through the day before you come to your open work session. So I can see what Mr. Damarest and his enforcement officers do. I watch them drive around. I watch them stop by the property. So at this, that is how I can contest, or I ask to the commission, reobserve your penalties, because that's not even close to a fair practice at all.
Do you have an updated timeline on?
Once we got the approval this morning, our client was to receive his new modified schedule that puts him to the 2nd week of July for our final inspection with the city of non-occupied white box, so this property can be put to market.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Baker, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. for you, real quick. Also possibly for the city attorney and for Mr. Demarest. So all of the work that's being done for these inspections, what communication has the owner of the property sent to the city about the progress of those inspections?
As far as, what do you mean to the city?
To
Are you talking
either-
to building inspections?
To either the code enforcement department or any other body within the city? Yeah,
Mr. Damarest
Mr.
and I
Damarest.
talk. The owner
Okay.
does not talk because the
Okay.
owner does not speak construction. He doesn't understand the delay. Now, he can communicate to the efficiency of baking dry goods, but not to the construction of his property.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because we want to make sure that if there is work being done on the property, that the code enforcement is properly aware of it. Because, like you said
Absolutely.
correctly, that just because something can't be seen doesn't mean it's not being done.
Correct.
And in order to comply with the orders given by the commission, we just need to make sure that the code enforcement department is aware of that. And we just want to make sure. So what communications has been sent by you about the most up-to-date progress of this work prior to this meeting today?
So prior to this meeting, Mr. Damarest has asked, since January, or actually February, what's going on with it? We talked about the red line engineering, told him when the owners, myself, and the new engineering group met, the findings from Veritas, what's led to this point. Then multiple other occasions, hey, are you going to have anybody on site? Yes, I'll have somebody on site doing X, Y, and Z on this date. You can drive by, take photos, and these are going to be small erection points because most of these columns are intentionally fabricated. They're fabricated off-site, transported in. Same way with the lateral joist. The joists are not handcrafted in our yard. They are being purchased outside and truck driven in, offloaded, same way with the decking. So these are all process steps, and so it's like when I receive, I take a picture and I send it. So,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Mr. Demarest, real quick question.
Yes, sir.
What communication have you or your department received on these? Because he's talking about what communication he's sent out. I want to make sure that what you've received, that there's not a miscommunication here or a lack, or like a
Typical
breakdown.
communication from myself to him would be me instigating what's going on, where we at. There have been text messages. They're included in your packet on the chronology page. I received, I think, a week or two ago, I'd have to get the exact date. I think it's in your picture packet. Hey, FYI, stuff showed up, and I believe the response was, great, when I see it in the air, I'll be excited, I think was the term I used with them. And a couple days later, I got a picture of things in the air. I'm like, congratulations, keep moving. But as far as communication goes from ownership, there has been none, which he provided the reason why. But as far as, getting compliance with this commission, the things that we ask for, we get this morning, 7:30 a.m. We got plans submitted yesterday afternoon on a one-page plan sheet to turn it into a white box. And that was April 8th, I believe I testified to, the first day we knew that it was going to be white box. So it took from April 8th to yesterday at the last minute to get it in and then approved first thing this morning before the hearing. That's the type of communication that we've had.
Thank you. And a quick question for the city, either Ms. Spignardi. This is just unrelated, one other item. You mentioned that one of these inspection items was a TxDOT inspection as opposed to a City of Irving inspection. What's the relationship or the jurisdiction of the City of Irving over those TxDOT inspections?
So I'm not aware as to what particular issue he was referencing related to TxDOT. So I don't know if Dale has more information on that. I don't know what the issue
It's
is.
the entry access, the new entry
Okay,
access off of Irving Boulevard.
Irving Boulevard, so that part of Irving Boulevard would be owned by the state of Texas. So it
That's
is
Texas-
accurate to say in
That's
that
Texas State
instance
Highway
that, yes,
356,
correct,
right.
yes.
Okay. And in terms of the responsibility of City of Irving code enforcement to inspect TxDOT property, does the City of Irving, is an inspection of the TxDOT owned property part of the whole scope of what's included in this packet?
I mean, the entryway to be able to access the building and use the building is part of the scope to make sure that's in. And he's done all that as far as concrete goes on private property.
Okay.
The approach, as he said, now that we've learned today that it's TxDOT, that it has to be inspected by them, it was just a notation that the picture showed an unfinished product, and I was just making note of why, that it has remained unfinished. Inspections did go out according to the report, mentioned that it was CIP. Now CIP has told them it's TxDOT. TxDOT has already seen it, so that's fine as far as that goes. We understand TxDOT takes longer than the city does to do stuff.
Okay, and one last question. In your opinion, Mr. Demarest, would an improvement in communication, in terms of earlier communication, possibly in a written form like an email with timelines, help to satisfy the city of Irving's interest in this property in terms of whether it's satisfying the buildings and standards?
In all honesty,
Questions?
sir, I provide you an update to the case and what's going on. It's this commission's decision on whether or not the communication that's been provided meets the requirement that you set forth and the requirement for the completion or the repair of this structure. I leave
Thank you.
that solely up to the commission to decide that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Demarest.
Go ahead, Ms. Bernardi.
Commissioner Dodd, I just wanted to clarify really quickly, the issue related to the TxDOT and the drive approach that would be required, that is not a violation that we have alleged. Obviously, it doesn't relate to the nature of the building itself, and so I just want to clarify that while that might be involved for the ultimate future development, use, and occupancy of that building from the city code enforcement standpoint, the issue is still the substandard nature of that building and whether or not those violations have been corrected, not some potential issue that will need to ultimately be handled in the future were the building to be developed.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, with that, we'll close this matter to the floor. From the commission, we're seeing progress made. Fair amount, and I believe previously we thought this was going to be fixed in January. And we've heard testimony as to why that didn't go through. I'd be of a mind to defer this until July before assessing a penalty, especially if the property might be completed and occupied and leased, which would be even better.
I'd say I agree because it's clear that work's being done. It's clear that any of the delays we've seen are not due to a lack of care or an abandonment of the property or anything like that. There may have been some communication problems in terms of getting the information to us, but that's a communication issue. That's not an issue of the work not being done, not being completed, or just being allowed to lapse. So I think I agree with you.
Let me see if I'm reading the staff's recommended order. I'm seeing a timeline here, okay. Do we want them to reappear in July or in September, do we think? They're saying that they think be fixed by early July, which I'll take that one with a grain of salt. Might be easier just to say September, and then we'll see if the chips lie.
I think September is reasonable.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to amend staff's recommended order to strike the section for civil penalties and replace it with a order to appear for our September hearing.
Mr. Chairman, that's the commission's September 24th meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
So your motion is to continue the case and its public hearing to the commission's September 24th meeting date.
Yes. Yeah.
And I second that amended motion.
And we have a second from Commissioner Smith. All right, motion passes unanimously. Item 5, please.
Dale Demers, Code Enforcement Manager, here to present Agenda Item 5, continued case BSCP 2306-0002, 2585 West Irving Boulevard, also known as 2701 West Irving Boulevard. This case was opened in June of 2023. Asbestos abatement was started on May 19th, 2025. On May 22nd, 2025, demolition equipment arrived and the main demolition began. By May 23rd, 2025, over half the building had been demolished and the debris was being removed. As of May 27th, the majority of the building has been demolished. Work will continue until the building is removed, foundation and parking lot have been taken up, and grass seed planted. With this in mind, staff respectfully requests that the Commission order the owners to appear at the July 23rd, 2025 hearing to update. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 5? Okay, with that, we'll close this matter to the floor and begin our deliberations.
Commissioner Dodd, I just wanted to clarify for the record. I think you understand this, but the demolition that's occurring is not the property owner demolishing the property. That is the city's contractor demolishing the property.
Thank you, Mr. Gennardi. All right. So it'll be the city demolishing, hauling away, and then planting grass seed.
I motion to adopt the staff's recommendation in full.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
All right, motion passed unanimously. Item 6. Strain it back.
Julia Cuellar, Code Enforcement Specialist, here to present Agenda Item 6, continued case BSCP 2306-0003, 2024 Sandy Lane. This is a vacant single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. A fire occurred in early 2023, and the owner applied for a permit shortly after the September hearing. A permit was issued on November 28, 2024 for addition and remodel permit. This is the scope of work approved by Permits Department as part of the permit. Work on the property started by January 6, 2025. As of January 15, 2025, there has been progress on the property following the scope of work. Progress halted, and this is what the property looks like as of May 27, 2025. Staff met with the owner May 5th, 2025 to discuss the progress of the property. The owner stated that he wanted to bring everything down with the exception of the brick. Due to the brick not being a structural component, staff recommended that he bring everything down to the slab. The owner has decided to bring the property into compliance by removing all building materials above the foundation, leaving it clean and clear for the construction that is covered under his current permit. This is the updated scope and schedule with a targeted completion date of July 16, 2025. With that in mind, staff respectfully request that the commission order the owner to appear at the July 23, 2025 hearing to update the commission and to determine if civil penalties should be assessed. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 6? Okay, we will close this matter to the floor. Was this case before our body before? Which month was that?
I believe this was originally in September of 2024.
There it is. Okay, so this is just an order to appear at our next, at July? Okay. Do I hear any motions from the commission?
Move to adopt staff's recommended order in full.
We have a motion from Commissioner Simon
Second the motion.
and second from Commissioner Baker. All right, we're still missing one. There it is. Motion passes unanimously. On to Luke Street.
Julia Cuellar, Code Enforcement Specialist, here to present Agenda Item 7, continued case, BSCP 2401-0006, 1534 Luke Street. This is a single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. This case was opened on January 30, 2024. On November 20, 2024, the Commission ordered an appearance for an update on March 26, 2025, with an expectation to repair or demolish by May 20, 2025. A demolition permit was issued December 12, 2024, and the owner completed material removal in early May 2025. The owner called into the inspections department to have a final inspection conducted, and this has been scheduled for June 2, 2025. A permit for the construction of a new single-family residence was issued on March 11, 2025. Since then, the owner has added framing and begun constructing additions to the side and rear of the property as shown in this picture, and started on the addition at the front as shown in this picture. This is what the front of the property looks like as of today, May 28, 2025. With that in mind, staff respectfully request that the Commission order the owners to appear at the July 23, 2025 hearing to update the Commission on the progress of the project. Dependent on the level of progress at that time, staff may recommend civil penalties be assessed for the failure to comply with the November 2024 order to repair or demolish the structure. This ends my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Question. So they demolished the house and now they're building a new house.
Yes, they were allowed to keep the foundation, and they were able to demolish the house and start the construction of one.
So what's left to inspect here?
The final inspection for the demo permit. In this case, they have two permits, one for demo and one for new construction. So they're working on the final inspection for the demo permit.
Chairman, just to clarify a little bit, had the final inspection on the demolition permit been completed before today, we'd be recommending closure of the case. Since that permit hasn't been finalized yet, in order to stay true to our practices and the order, we have continued at one additional meeting so that the inspections department has time to final that demolition permit and give us the official confirmation that in fact that part of the project has been completed, and then we can order it closed, if that makes sense.
So I'm seeing a picture of a lot that's a flat slab on it that kind of seems like the demo was completed if there's no house there. What would else would be looking for besides the absence?
The inspectors will look for any changes to the utility, the capping of utilities, changes to electrical occur. There are things that are either subterranean or not just visible that they look for in the inspections of completing a demolition final on a permit. Now, it's always the commission's prerogative to close a case when you've been presented evidence that
That's what I was leaning towards.
So,
I'm not seeing evidence of any violations occurring at this time, is what I'm seeing, because there are no walls, there is no ceiling, there is no siding, so.
Understood. The reason why we're not making a recommendation of closure today is simply the administrative procedure that we follow to make sure that we can in fact attest to you that the demo has been finalized by the authorities that oversee that before we recommend closure. But I understand exactly what you're seeing and what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on Item 7. Okay, with that, we'll close it to the floor. We have evidence that the case is resolved, right? Because there is no longer a house. The recommendation was an order to appear, which I think is a bit unnecessary. The house no longer exists. So all the violations are rectified, although I guess there might be utility regulation. So with that, I'll just go ahead and make an amended motion that this case is closed due to compliance.
Mr. Diller, is that something we can do, or does the administrative procedure need to be followed as?
I would defer to your legal counsel
Yes,
on
sir,
that.
if that's the commission's prerogative, you can do that.
All right, there's a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
And a second, Commissioner Baker. Motion passed unanimously. Item 8, please.
Julia Cuellar, Code Enforcement Specialist, here to present Agenda Item 8, new case 2024-11256-BSCP 408 Rochelle Boulevard. This is a single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. The property suffered a fire in October 2024. The owners went through their insurance, which is covering the cost of repairs. A permit application was submitted on April 29, 2025, but has not yet been issued. The current permit is only for fire repairs back to the original layout. The submitted plans were denied on May 2, 2025, as they proposed a second-floor addition and modifications to the original first-floor layout. If the layout is changing, the applicant must apply for a new residential single-family dwelling permit. The owners have decided to proceed with the new custom layout and plan to submit the updated documents as soon as possible. Until repairs are completed, the following substandard structure violations exist on the property. A supporting member exclusive of the foundation which shows 33% or more damage or deterioration. A non-supporting member enclosing outside wall or covering with 50% damage or deterioration. A floor or roof that has insufficient strength to be reasonably safe for the purpose for which the floor or roof is used and/or to support the weight of emergency personnel and equipment as determined by fire chief. A floor, exterior wall, or roof that has holes, cracks, or loose, rotten, warped, or protruding boards that may injure a person. Parts that may fall and injure a person or property. Damage by fire, explosion, wind, vandalism, or elements of nature so that they may be a danger to life, safety, or to the general health and welfare of a person. And an interior wall or ceiling that has holes, cracks, loose plaster, defective materials, or structural deterioration that may defeat the purpose of the wall or ceiling that may fail to protect the occupants of the structure from danger of collapse or of fire.
Commissioner Dodd, may I ask a few questions of this witness?
Go ahead, Ms. Nardi.
Thank you. Did the city conduct a due diligence search to identify and locate all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders or other interested persons for this property?
We did.
Was the search conducted of the real property records of Dallas County, Dallas Central Appraisal District records, records for the Secretary of State for the state of Texas, assumed name records of Dallas County, tax utility, and other records of the city?
It was.
Was notice of this public hearing sent by certified mail return receipt requested to all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders that you identified in your search, giving them at least 10 days advance notice of this hearing?
It was.
Was notice of this public hearing posted on the front door of the structure at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Are documents included in the commissioner's packet of materials which evidence the persons that were identified through the city's due diligence search for this property and the notification that was provided?
Yes.
Is this property dilapidated?
It is.
Is it substandard?
It is.
Is it unfit for human habitation?
Yes.
Is it a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare?
Yes.
Does this property constitute an urban nuisance?
It does.
In your opinion, could this property be repaired without substantial reconstruction?
No.
What is the staff's recommendation on this case?
With that in mind, staff respectfully requests that the commission adopt these findings and make the following orders. Allow city staff to perform inspections of the property. no later than July 27, 2025, to complete the repairs of the structure, and if the structure on the property have not been completely repaired and the debris removed by July 27, 2025, the commission put the owner's civil penalties up to $1,000 per day for missed deadlines. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 8? Okay, with that, we'll close this matter to the floor. Yeah, looking at it, this one looks pretty terminal. I see that there's talk of permits being pulled, but I don't know, we have more construction-minded folks on the board. This one looks like it's got to be brought down.
I mean, I think our primary concern on the board is that these unsafe conditions exist and unacceptable conditions exist, and by whatever means those unsafe and unacceptable conditions are made to no longer exist, as long as the proper legal and procedures and administrative procedures are all followed, then I think that's our major concern. I don't think we need to get too much in the weeds of the actual plan for the home. We just need to make sure that the unsafe conditions are remediated within an acceptable time frame.
Well, seeing there's no one here asking for more time, you're right on that fact. All right, with that, do I hear any motions from the commission at this time?
Motion to adopt the staff's recommended order in full.
We have a motion from Commissioner Simon. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Baker. Motion passed unanimously. On to our last item.
Blake Peoples, Code Enforcement Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 9, new case 2025-1482 BSCP 3833 Finley Road. This is a single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. On February 28, 2024, a fire occurred at the property. Staff conducted an interior inspection after finding the structure to be unsecured, vacant, and exhibiting substandard conditions. A notice of violation was issued and posted on the property on February 19, 2025. On February 25, 2025, the owner left a voicemail from a neighbor's phone stating that he would return the call on February 26 between 1 and 4 p.m. However, no follow-up communication was received. On March 27, 2025, Adult Protective Services contacted staff to report that they were assisting the owner with finding affordable housing. They were unable to reach him again and closed the case. On March 16, 2025, staff posted and mailed a notice of hearing letter to the property owner. Despite multiple attempts, contact with the owner has been unsuccessful. This area of the garage shows significant damage to the siding and garage doors. This is a non-supporting member enclosing outside wall or covering within 50% damage and deterioration. On January 30th, 2025, staff observed an unsecured entry through a damaged sliding glass door in the rear of the property. There was also trash and debris located in the backyard. On February 5th, 2025, the damaged garage door, front door, window, and back door was secured by a city contractor to prevent unauthorized access. The following violations exist: an interior wall or ceiling that has holes, cracked, loose plaster, defective materials, or structural deterioration that may defeat the purpose of the wall or ceiling, or they may fail to protect the occupants of the structure from danger of collapse or fire. Parts that may fall and injure a person or property. damage by fire, explosion, wind, vandalism, or elements of nature, so there may be a danger to life, safety, or to the general health and welfare of a person. There exist conditions caused by accumulations of refuge, vegetation, or other matter that create breeding and living places for insects and rodents.
Commissioner Don, may I ask a few questions of this witness?
Go ahead, Mr. Gennardi.
Did the city conduct a due diligence search to identify and locate all owners, mortgagees, lien holders, and other interested persons for this property?
Yes.
Was a search conducted of the real property records of Dallas County, Dallas Central Appraisal District records, records for the Secretary of State for the State of Texas, assumed name records of Dallas County, tax utility, and other records of the city?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing sent by certified mail return receipt requested to all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders that you identified in your search, giving them at least 10 days advance notice of this hearing?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing posted on the front door of the structure at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days prior to this hearing?
Yes.
Are documents included in the Commissioner's packet of materials which evidence the persons identified through the city's due diligence search for this property and the notification that was provided?
Yes.
Is the property dilapidated?
Yes.
Is it substandard?
Yes.
Is it unfit for human habitation?
Yes.
Is it a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare?
Yes.
Does this property constitute an urban nuisance?
Yes.
In your opinion, could this property be repaired without substantial reconstruction?
No.
And what is the staff's recommendation on this case?
With that in mind, staff respectfully requests that the commission adopts these findings and make the following orders. Allow city staff to make inspections no later than July 27, 2025 to complete the repairs or demolition of the structure, and if the structures on the property have not been completely repaired or demolished and the debris removed by July 27, 2025, the commission authorizes the city of Irving, its agents or contractors to enter the property, demolish the structure, and remove all debris from the property on or after July 28, 2025. And place civil penalties up to $1,000 per day for missed deadlines. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? All right, if you would please say your name and address for the record.
My name is Zach Coppinger. I office at 2600 North Central Expressway. I don't live in Richardson, Suite 110. I don't live here in Irving. My company's agreed to purchase the property from the owner.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
In summer of 2023, my company agreed to purchase the property from Mr. Fairchild. We had a purchase agreement in place, set to close, I think it was fall of 2023. He defaulted in that contract. We ended up filing a lawsuit in fall of 2023 to enforce the contract. A default judgment was issued against Mr. Fairchild in, I believe, January of 2024. He ended up appealing that judgment. The Court of Appeals took about 6 months to rule on whether they were going to accept his appeal or not. They overruled his appeal because he didn't do anything after he filed for the appeal. So that was around June of 2024. And then the judge hearing the case in the district court had back surgery and all the motions in her court just stood still. So we tried to enforce the judgment by holding Mr. Fairchild in contempt because he would not comply with the judgment, which required him to sell the home to us. So that motion sat on Gina Slaughter's desk for, I think, about 6 months until January of 2025. That motion finally got signed to bring him into court and have a hearing for why he hadn't complied with the judgment. We had not been able to find him. The constables could not serve him with that motion for a long time. Last week, subsequently, whenever I got the letter in the mail about the Building Standards Division meeting, we found Mr. Fairchild. He is in loose sterret for arson, so he's in jail right now. I do not believe it's arson to this property. I think it's something else. However, we just found that out last week. We are trying to purchase the property. We have been unable to do so far due to his not cooperating. The fact that this structure may have caught fire is completely new to me. We've just been working kind of from our office trying to get the judgment enforced so that we could purchase the property. It was in poor shape whenever we initially looked at it in, I think, the summer of 2023. There was no fire damage. He was a pretty unhealthy individual. He had a bunch of boxes, a bunch of trash in the house. It was not in good shape. That being said, I'm not sure that I saw fire damage in the photos that were presented. I did drive by the property last week whenever we got this notice. At least from the exterior, we did not go into the inside because of the boards that were up. It doesn't look like it's caught fire. I'm not saying it has not. I'm saying the pictures that I saw didn't really show a lot of fire damage to that property. Usually fire damage is a lot more extensive than some darkness on the walls. My request is that we're allotted some more time before penalties, before the structure is demolished, so that we can actually get the judgment enforced, get the property sold, and get the property renovated. Based on my assessment, my company does about 50 to 70 of these a year as far as purchases of properties that are in poor condition, renovating them, bringing them back to market. That structure is very easily able to renovate and bring up to market conditions. That does not look like a lot of the other structures that were presented in this meeting, in my opinion.
Okay. Sounds like you have a lot of fun ahead of you.
We've been working for a while. The wheels of justice turn slowly, especially whenever the judge is out of her chambers for 6 months with back surgery and the appeals, and then the appeals court just holds it for a while. Our challenge is getting the judgment enforced and compelling him to actually comply with the judgment and sell the property. That's what we're working through. We're talking to legal counsel about other alternative methods to do that, but we can't hold his hand to a pen and a piece of paper
You can't
and force him to sign it.
just take this to the title and say, I have a judgment to sell this property, and
So
then find the title to me.
the default judgment has muniment of title language. The problem is the title companies are very hesitant to ensure a conveyance that is not wet ink signature from the actual seller. So we're talking with the underwriters right now to see if there's some kind of solution. However, if the property has caught fire, that's not the property that I agreed to purchase. So now we've got to go back to Gina and ask for offset for the damage to the property, because the price that I agreed to purchase the property for did not include fire damage. And if we're going to record the judgment and use that as a conveyance instrument, I have to deposit the funds in the court registry. I'm going to deposit funds in the court registry that make sense for the investment purpose that I have, and if it's caught fire, it may not make sense at the price that I agreed to purchase for Mr. Fairchild.
Gotcha. All right, so you were planning on renovating this anyway. How long were you anticipating that renovation period to take?
Once I can start, 4 months.
Once you can start?
Yeah, 4 months.
4 months?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you actually have a scope of everything needed done?
Before the information that there may have been a fire there, it was your foundation, your roof, your HVAC, your electrical, your plumbing. It was addressing most items.
Okay,
There was
did
no plan to change the floor plan, no plans to add any other structures, expand the square footage, anything like that. It was just to take the frame that we had and just renovate it up to current
Did you
standards.
have a cost estimate of that?
The cost estimate was internal from my own construction crew, but it was about $75,000 to $80,000 at the time.
Okay. I think that's all the information we need on that one. Does anyone else have a question for this witness while he's up here?
I have a question for our code enforcement officer. Just to refresh, where did the information about a fire come from? Was that just an assessment of the damage, or do we have like a case with the fire department or the police?
So it would be both an assessment and also off the fire inspection report that we do receive.
Okay, can you bring the photos back up real quick, please? Just to review them, make sure we're looking at the same, just looking at it. Yeah, that
This is
photo.
a photo of a bedroom, and
That's, okay.
so,
Yeah, that looks very much like fire damage.
yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak to this? Okay. With that, we'll close this matter to the floor. Okay, so we've had testimony. As far as scope and schedule goes, he says the amount of renovation would be under $100,000, so we wouldn't need any proof of funds. He's saying you need 4 months to go through the stuff. What he presented was loosely a scope and schedule of that. I understand his concerns are of renovation and not just bring the property up into secure to minimum compliance, but these are generally one and the same, I think, for this purpose. Yeah, and there's the renegotiating of it. The best, if this property wasn't sold, the chance of it being brought to compliance would be very minimal. It would almost certainly be one that would have to be demolished by the city. That's what I'm gathering from the testimony we received. So I think we definitely have enough to say that, at least 4 months for construction purposes. We want to add on some time for getting the property sold and transferred through legal judgment. So we want to call it 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months sounds right. Do I still have the opportunity to ask a question of the buyer's representative, or is that closed?
Sure, we can reopen this matter to the floor if you have a question.
The figures you provided for the cost and the timeline for the renovation of the property, was that before or after knowledge of the fire damage?
That was before. I think if there's a fire, that scope of work might increase a little bit.
Okay, so there's likely to be a change in the scope of work and the projected budget.
The electrical we were going to rewire anyways. The framing, whatever damage might be done to the framing or what code compliance might require, that scope might change. I didn't see any fire that actually penetrated through the roof decking. I'm not sure how fast fire department got out there. I'm not certain. If that, the fire damage seemed not as dramatic as some of the other properties, but yes, the scope would increase if that's fire damage.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing? Gina Slaughter's court, that's the court that this file is in, this case is in. Whenever we submit a motion, we submit it and we follow up with the clerk weekly. We cannot control how fast they rule on these motions. It's been slower than we would like. It's kind of out of our hands. We want to be present enough to, so that they know we need something done, but not so present that we get to the back of the case file because we're just the annoying ones that call every single day. So the effort is call weekly on the motions that are submitted. We'll keep doing the same. I just can't guarantee how long it takes them to rule on any of these things.
Thank you.
All right, we'll reclose this matter to the floor. I still think 6 months is a good bit. Again, if we see progress being made, we won't be assessing penalties, given the circumstances.
And at the 6 month mark, when this matter comes back, if there's been delay due to legal delays or any other thing that's outside of their control, we have the opportunity at that time, at our discretion, to simply continue the case if we decide that's what we want to do. We have that discretion.
Yep, yeah. Okay, so I think we need to rework some dates here. When's our, so July 20?
You have a November 19th.
November 19th
Is
meeting?
your last meeting of the year.
Okay, last meeting of the year. So let's call it November 18th for, if we could change all these. Yes, all the July dates to November 18th.
So 18th for completion of work and the 19th for appearance?
Yeah. All right. So with that, I'll make an amended motion to change the repair demolish date to November the 18th and an order to appear entered in on November the 19th meeting. With that, do I hear a second? Oh, and
Second.
also, and just to clarify, and we are still entering into the findings that the property is dilapidated and all that. Language from section 1 through 4.
I'll second that motion.
And we have a second from Commissioner Simon. Motion passed unanimously, and that was our last item, so we are adjourned.